Hello, my name is Georg Hinkel, and in this short video, I'm going to explain you how to implement exception handling in servers and clients using the Tecan SiLA 2 SDK. So in the previous example, previous video, I basically created a SiLA 2 server that exposes this little greeting service interface. And yeah, now let's basically enrich this example with exceptions. So the first thing, of course, if you want to work with exceptions, is you need to define the exception that you want to work with. So I'm just putting this into the same file here. That is basically, what exception do we want to have? We want to have an exception, but if this name it contains digits, then obviously it's not really a name because names usually don't contain digits. So in that case, we want to throw an exception. And I'll name that unfriendly name exception because obviously you were trying to do something like phishing attacks or whatever kind of thing. So that's and therefore it's an unfriendly name. And of course, exception is thrown if names are suspicious. And as good coders, we need to document that the say hello command method can actually raise this exception. So just use the exception reference. This is an unfriendly name exception. Yeah. And that is already it for the interface specification. Now we need to go for the implementation and implement this thing. So if name.any char digit to unfriendly name exception. Boom. Right. So on and so forth. But actually, we still have the problem in the server. We still have, well, there's no exception information. Normally, the SiLA 2 standard does allow you to specify that this command is throwing an exception. Now, please do not edit this file manually because it's going to be regenerated as soon as you run the code generator again. So therefore, rather use the code generator. Now, the code generator again uses build assemblies. So let's rebuild the contracts. Now that succeeded. So let me think about what namespace did I use. I used hello SiLA2.server, and then we do use SiLAgen again, generate server, and then the first thing is the path to the build contracts. And that's the contracts DLL. And the second one was the path to the server, CSProj. And we also specified that the namespace should be this one. Yeah. And there it is. And now if we take a look into the greeting service SiLA XML, then we see a defined execution error, namely unfriendly name can happen. And this exception is thrown if names are suspicious. Cool. So we have that on the server, but the client doesn't know about it. I mean, in the interface that's been generated, the exception information is basically missing. So what should we do? We again use SiLAgen because the client was generated at the time that the exception was not there yet. So what we need to do is we regenerate the client code. And the first argument of the client was actually the server feature. And then the second one was the client CSproj. Yes. And we also give it the namespace. And what happens is we have an unfriendly name exception here. Okay. And also the generated code otherwise also makes use of this exception. You see a couple of references here. So let's execute this thing. So I'm just doing that as a startup project here. And first let's build the solution. I still have the server running from my previous video, sorry. Let's build the solution again. It succeeded. And then let's start the server without debugging such that we have the debugger for the client. And yeah, so we already have the thing for say hello client, and we also try to do the same thing with client.say hello. But actually, we can actually also do something like this. So, and then we catch the exception, and in that case, we do a console write line the exception message. So, and then we debug the client. Do that. Let's go there. And there's still this 5-second timeout for the discovery that we specified there. But it found the server. See that here. And we do the hello client. And then we try to pass in something illegal. And there's an exception occurring. And this is exception is thrown if the names are suspicious. Exception of type unfriendly name exception was thrown. So that is basically because we didn't specify a message. Otherwise, the message would be transported. But this exception here is actually of type client unfriendly name exception. So it's really the exception that's in a generated interface. So basically, all you have to do to go back again is to specify this unfriendly name. Now, if you, for example, for some reason are not able to load the documentation, you can also do that via attributes. So this basically has the same meaning, that you basically have this as unfriendly name exception. And this, of course, also works if you, for some reason, lose the documentation. Makes it a bit more robust, but I mean, if you can rely that your documentation file is generated, it is totally sufficient to just document that this method can raise an exception, which is a good idea in any case. So, yeah. with that, that's basically it for exception handling. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you again.